In open play, England were building the game in traditionally back four and using single pivot, and that was Calvin Phillips. Hungary were in 5-4-1 formation in open play, and Hungary were pressing England's centre backs with Solman. The Hungarian frontman was dedicatedly pressing the centre backs, and he was 2 versus 1 down in front of the centre backs. Hungary's centre midfielders were wide. England's pivot was moving horizontally left and right, so the frontman was unable to cover shadow the pivot, and the pivot was able to receive balls centrally. The passing lane was opened up by moving the pivot left and right. A short time later, England were playing in back 3, right back playing as a wide back and left back pushing high on the flank. Bellingham and Gallagher were playing between the lines, but they were being covered by central midfielder, so their passing lane was getting blocked and they were unable to receive the ball between the lines. England were unable to build the game from the center, and England were forced going to build the game from wide. England were 4 versus 3 down in midfield. Hungary had a number advantage in midfield. Bellingham and Conor Gallagher were getting cover shadow from the center midfielder, and the other two midfielders were pressing pivots, and the England were forced building the game from wide. So England's midfield was isolated and England was forced to build the game from wide. When England were building the game in back 3, the Hungarian frontman sit back instead of pressing the centre backs, and he was 3 versus 1 down in front of the centre backs. England's midfielder were isolated, so Conor Gallagher was drifting wide from midfield to the receive ball, and the winger was stopping on the flank. Conor Gallagher and winger were being covered in the wide zone man to man. England's offensive midfielder and winger were in deep midfield. For England, high on the pitch there was no player to receive the ball, so England were unable to take the ball into final third, and back passing was taking place in the wide zone. England were unable to build the game centrally and wide, so the centre backs were attempting the long ball. When the ball was switching, number 9 and the winger were drifting wide and forcing centre backs and fullbacks drag wide, so space was being created between the two centre backs, and the midfield runner was ready to occupy that space, but the midfield runner was being tracked back by the midfielder and the attack was stopped. Hungary were defending back 5 in open play. When the England's fullbacks had the ball, the wingbacks were easily pressing the fullbacks man to man, and the rest of the defenders were drifting wide. Hungary were 4 versus 3 in final third despite a one defender high. The build-up phase, the Hungarian centre-back split alongside the goalkeeper. England were pressing with front 3, Saka, Kane and Gallagher ready to press high. Hungary were using a single pivot and he was being covered by Bellingham, so Hungary were attempting long ball with goal kick. The position of the left back was high and England were in back 3. When the aerial ball was approaching, the centre forward was winning the aerial duel and the midfield runner was ready to driving forward run, and England were 3 versus 3 or 3 versus 2 down in transition.